Lucid dreaming. I am personally a big fan of dreaming. I keep a journal by my bed, and 90% of the nights I wake up multiple times throughout the night to write down my dreams, and then I go through an interpretation exercise the following day. This helps you remember your dreams and also taps into the messages from your subconscious. You can live whole other lives in dreaming. Not too long ago, I had one of the most vivid and strangest dreams where I was in this semi-lucid state. I was lucid, I was aware that I was controlling myself and the environment, but I wasn't fully aware that I was dreaming. So, nonetheless, I was flying using an air mattress. This sounds strange, but it's well documented that people often use objects as aids in flight, for whatever reason. I've learned to fly without an object, but this night I was using a blow-up mattress, flying around this weird mall-like structure where lots of other people were flying around. I was having the time of my life, amazed by the location I was in and the fun factor of my flying activity, doing loops and tricks and overcoming obstacles and stuff. Eventually I landed and I saw two other beings, a male and a female, which I presume were my animo and anima, as they often appear in my dreams. Sidebar, the animo and anima are the male and female sides of your psyche, very prevalent in Carl Jung's work, both serving as bridges to the unconscious mind that shape an individual's world and relationships. So I approached them and I asked, "What is this place?" They looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Oh, this is a dream. This is exactly like where you're from." And boom, I woke up. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Now, we're not saying that life is nothing but a dream in the sense that it's not real, because from the transurfing perspective, dreams can be just as real as life. However, there are many subtle hints suggesting that just as we can exert much control over our dreams, in this same way, we can also influence our waking lives. When adults recall their dreams, they often dismiss them as imaginary creations of the resting mind. However, children under the age of 4 don't distinguish between dreaming and waking reality. They believe their dreams are just as real as their daily life. For example, a child waking up from a nightmare is convinced their monster is still in the room, and no amount of reassurance from their parents can convince them otherwise. Over time, the mind adapts to the belief that dreams aren't real, but it takes about 4 years for this perspective to take hold. Interestingly, this is one of the few ideas the mind doesn't easily or quickly accept. Most people have no memory of life before 4, so they can't fully appreciate the confusion the young mind must have felt waking up from dreams it believed to be real. Every night when the mind switches off during sleep, it falls into a kind of trap. In dreams, the mind doesn't question the reality of events, no matter how bizarre they are. Even on waking, we're surprised by how real those dream scenarios felt. The mind, always seeking rational explanations, treats the strange occurrences in dreams as normal while they're happening. In both waking and dreaming states, the mind rarely pauses to ask the simple question, is this real? This gap in awareness allows it to fall into the dream trap, bypassing its usual need for control. Sometimes we experience something wild. We wake up inside a dream and realize we are dreaming. This often happens during extraordinary dreams or nightmares when the rational mind is startled into partial awareness. At this moment, the dream state shifts into lucid dreaming, where you can consciously participate in the dream like a virtual game, fully aware it's not real. If you've never experienced lucid dreaming, rest assured it's not imaginary. Many books explore the topic, and countless people actively practice this technique, including yours truly. It's not difficult to try lucid dreaming because it can be brought on by the power of intention. To wake up in a dream, you have to train your mind. Here are 3 different techniques. The first one involves constantly questioning reality. Throughout the day, instruct your inner guardian to ask at least 10 times if what you're seeing is real. Consciously assess your surroundings to maintain a critical attitude and avoid falling into routine. The second is the hands technique. Before bed, consciously stare at your hands and set the intention that if you see your hands in your dreams, it will trigger you to wake up. Hands in dreams are often distorted and rarely ever look normal. This will make you realize that you're not in your waking life reality. The third is the polarized personal object. Create a unique object or image that combines personal significance with something disliked, triggering a polarity shift that awakens awareness within the dream. For example, I love roses, but if I see a yellow rose in my dream, I will realize that it's off script, and this will awaken me up to the fact that I'm dreaming. Why practice lucid dreaming? Besides it being a valuable technique for transurfing, you can live an entire life, experience mind-blowing things, and learn an incredible amount about yourself and life, tapping into the deepest parts of your psyche. First of all, it's incredibly fun. You can consciously play with your dream like in a virtual game rather than just have it happen to you. No science fiction book or computer game can compare with lucid dreaming, where you can do anything your imagination can conjure up. Second and thirdly, it can be a profound tool for learning about the nature of reality and expanding your consciousness, as it offers unique opportunities to explore your subconscious mind and understand the fluid boundaries between dreams and waking life. In a dream, if you face an unpleasant situation, you can change it by sheer will. For instance, if someone is chasing you and you believe it's real, escaping will feel nearly impossible. If you realize it's a dream, your first instinct might be to wake up, but that doesn't always work. Instead, once you're aware it's just a dream, you can act decisively. Turn around, look at your pursuer, and think, "Go away," and they'll vanish instantly. You could even imagine lifting them up into the air and making them spin around for fun. As long as two simple conditions are fulfilled, the dreamer can control everything that happens in their dream. First, you have to become aware that you're dreaming. The second condition is that there has to be a realization that here, you can do anything. For example, if you are lucid dreaming and want to fly, nothing could be simpler. All it requires is your intention. The modern definition of intention is something that you want and plan to do, an aim, which is much closer related to desire and the typical way people use it. In transurfing, intention holds a much more mysterious, powerful, and expanded concept, which we'll go into more detail in this section. Desire is seen as a wish or a longing for something, often accompanied by feelings of lacking or yearning. It tends to generate excess potential and create imbalance because it emphasizes what is missing or what one does not have. Desires can lead to attachment and dependency on external outcomes, which can attract negative forces and obstacles. Intention, on the other hand, is clear and focused decision to act or achieve something. It is proactive and assertive, embodying the commitment and determination to bring a specific reality into existence. Intention aligns with the flow of energy and minimizes resistance, allowing one to navigate through life's alternatives more smoothly. It is not just about wanting something, but involves taking conscious steps towards making it a reality without generating excess potential or imbalance. The following is important, so please pay attention. The desire alone to rise up in the air will lead to nothing in dreaming as in waking. It is the same with raising your hand. You can say to yourself that you want to raise your hand, but you do not necessarily move it. Then you suddenly decide to act and you raise your hand, transforming desire into action by the power of intention. You do not think about how you're going to raise your hand, you just do it, and it is the same with flying in a dream. You can simply decide to rise up into the air, and you can fly wherever you want to. Returning back to the example of the nightmare about being chased, the desire alone to be free of the pursuer is not enough. When fear takes hold, the rational mind loses the advantage at every turn of events. It is as if someone else decides the rules of the game. Even if you're aware that you're dreaming, you will remain powerless to act until you decide to take control. While you play the role of the passive victim, the game will have control over you. It makes no difference that the game is a product of your imagination. you are still effectively a slave of your imagination as you tremble in fear and run. In lucid dreaming, you can choose the role you want to play. You can even stop and decide to swap roles with your pursuer, who'll oblige you and turn on their heel. Now, imagine how fun that would be. To any question that starts, "Is it possible to do such and such in a lucid dream?" the answer is yes. You can talk to people, the living and deceased. You can do whatever you want with people and objects in your dream. Fly around other planets, solve problems, compose music, even the hanky-panky if you so wish. In comparison to what you can experience in a lucid dream, serious drugs are merely child's play. You can also bring back information from a dream. The only thing you can't do is bring back a physical object. At least, we've never heard this being done before. If you're the kind of person that says they rarely dream or have a hard time remembering their dreams, here are 3 things that you should do. First, stop alcohol and marijuana consumption. It disrupts REM sleep, which is the sleep phase where most dreaming occurs, thereby reducing the likelihood of having vivid dreams. You could try and sleep towards the north, or at least avoid sleeping with your head towards the west, as this can have a negative impact on your health. We can't really explain why exactly, but it's connected with the impact of the Earth's magnetic fields on the body. Try sleeping with your head to the north, and your dreams should become more vivid and diverse. You can also set the intention and journal about it. So before you go to bed, you can say it in your head or out loud, "Tonight I'm going to dream and I'm going to remember my dreams." You also want to keep a journal and pen by your bed, because as soon as you wake up from a dream, even if it's multiple times throughout the night, you want to write it down. It's inconvenient, but incredibly worth it. Do not worry if you have no desire to practice lucid dreaming, or perhaps you have tried to induce lucid dreaming without success. Lucid dreaming does play a certain role in transurfing, but it's not essential to practicing the technique.